The night the Firebird circled above the village, Okechukwu ran through the forest paths, barefoot, his heart thudding like a drum. The moonlight flickered between the tall iroko trees, shadows chasing him as though the spirits themselves wanted to seize him. He clutched the small leather satchel tightly, the one that contained the secret he had hoped no one would ever see. But he knew, deep in his chest, that the village would feel the weight of his choices. He burst into the round hut where Amara, the herbalist's daughter, slept beside the glowing embers of the hearth. Her braid-strewn hair fell across her face, and her small son lay curled beside her, wrapped in the soft cloth she had dyed with indigo from the river. "Amara," he gasped, voice trembling. "Amara, hear me." She lifted her head, eyes wide, and the boy stirred, sensing the urgency. "Okechukwu, what troubles you in the night?" Her voice was soft but wary. The wind carried a chill from the river beyond the village, making the shadows twist and leap across the hot walls. I must tell you, I have been deceived by another," he said, words faltering, the weight of shame pressing down on him like a stone. Her eyes narrowed. "Another? Speak plainly, Okechukwu. Do not hide behind whispers." I spoke to Lena," he admitted, lowering his gaze. She came to the market that day, bearing gifts and charms, and I let her words sway me. I thought she offered guidance, but it was a trap, and I faltered." Amara's lips pressed into a thin line. The boy stirred, mumbling in his sleep. "Okechukwu," she said softly but firmly, "the spirits of our ancestors do not forgive lightly. Did you know what you risked?" He dropped to his knees, the leather satchel falling open. Inside lay a small amulet, carved from ebony and bone. Lena's gift, which he had thought harmless, now glowed faintly in the moonlight. Amara reached forward, shaking her head. "You carried a cursed thing into our home. Do you not feel it? Do you not see the shadow it cast on your soul?" I did not know," he whispered. "Had I known, I would have turned away the moment I saw it." "Go," Amara said suddenly. "Leave this hut and do not return until you have learned to see with your own eyes, not your heart's desires." Had I known. Her voice trailed into silence, but the weight of her words crushed him more than any beating from the village elders. The next morning, the village woke to rumors. A trickster spirit had been seen near the river, a woman from another village bearing a glowing charm. Okechukwu walked silently through the paths between the huts, his bare feet slipping on the wet soil, eyes downcast. He approached the clearing where the elders met daily. They sat on carved wooden stools, faces lined with age and wisdom, listening to the whispering wind as it carried the scent of the river. "The spirits are restless," Elder Oba said, voice low, eyes sharp. "A curse has been carried into our village. Whoever it touches will know no peace until the truth is laid bare." Okechukwu's chest tightened. He knelt before them. "Elders, it is I allowed a stranger into my heart. I did not know. I did not see." Oba shook his head slowly. "Words are feathers on the wind. Actions weigh upon the earth. Had you known the cost, young man, would you have acted differently?" "I would have turned away," Okechukwu admitted, tears brimming. "I would have avoided the trap." "Then go. Walk the paths of your choices. And remember, he who strays from loyalty will find his heart heavy with regret, and the river will whisper the truth he fears." By mid-morning, Okechukwu found himself at the riverbank, staring at his reflection. The amulet, now dangling from his neck, glowed faintly against the water's surface. His reflection shimmered with two images, one of himself, innocent, loyal, the other of himself, tempted, corrupted by desire. A voice in the wind, soft and urgent, seemed to call, "The child sees all, and the heart that falters will carry its weight through generations." He shook. He had nearly destroyed the life he loved. Amara's trust, once strong as the Iroko tree, now trembled in his hands. That afternoon, Lena appeared at the edge of the village, her presence a shadow over the sunlit paths. She was dressed in garments of deep red and gold, hair flowing, lighter-skinned, eyes sharp and calculating. She smiled faintly, a smile that promised both comfort and chaos. Okechukwu stepped back. "You. Why are you here?" "I came to see how my seeds have grown," Lena replied, voice soft like the rustling of the leaves. The young man who sought guidance. Has he learned, or has he faltered? "You have no place here," Okechukwu said, hands trembling. The child. "Amara. I will not allow harm from your charm or your words." Lena tilted her head. "Oh. But had you known the cost of desire, would you have resisted?" Her question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Okechukwu did not answer. Instead, he turned toward the forest, toward the paths he must walk alone, carrying both guilt and hope. By nightfall, the village was quiet, but the Firebird circled again. Its cries were a warning, the trials had only begun. On the hut, Amara sat beside her son, braid falling over her shoulder, eyes alert, lips pressed, sensing the unrest. She whispered a proverb she had learned from her grandmother: "The heart that forgives too quickly invites the shadow of regret." And as Okechukwu walked the moonlit paths, barefoot, through the forest, he felt the truth in those words deep in his chest. The journey ahead was long, and the spirits were watching. Mini cliffhanger, a rustling in the trees hinted that Lena's influence had not yet left the village, and the night held more secrets than he dared imagine. Okechukwu walked the forest paths for what felt like endless nights. The Firebird had vanished, but the echoes of its cries lingered in his mind, twisting through the rustling leaves. Every step he took, he felt the pull of the cursed amulet against his chest, a heavy warmth that whispered of mistakes he could not undo. He reached a clearing where the river ran wide and slow, silver under the moonlight. The water rippled unnaturally, though the wind was still. Okechukwu knelt, gazing into the reflection, and thought he saw Lena's eyes staring back at him from beneath the water's surface. He jumped back, heart pounding. A voice in the night whispered from the trees, "He who breaks trust with his heart invites the shadow that follows him beyond the moon." He pressed the amulet to his chest, feeling its faint pulse. "Had I known. Had I truly known," he muttered. His words were swallowed by the forest, yet the leaves seemed to tremble at their weight. Back in the village, Amara sensed unease. Her son, small and bright-eyed, clutched her skirt as they gathered herbs by the riverbank. "Mother, the sky feels heavy," he said. "It does," Amara replied, frowning. "Even the spirits speak in the winds tonight. Remember, child, listen to the river. It tells truths no man can lie about." The boy nodded, but Okachukwu's absence gnawed at the edges of his young mind. The herbalist's daughter turned her gaze toward the path leading into the forest. In the shadowed distance, she imagined Okechukwu walking among the trees, alone and burdened. Several nights later, Okechukwu arrived at a small village beyond the hills, unfamiliar yet alive with the warmth of firelight and chatter. He sought lodging at a hut owned by an old woman known to the villagers as the seer. Her eyes, clouded yet sharp, studied him as he approached. "You carry shadows," she said. "Not those of the night, but those of the heart. And you bring them willingly." Okechukwu dropped to his knees. I do not know how to mend what I have broken," he said, voice trembling. "Had I known the cost, I would have turned away before the first step." The seer nodded, pointing to a small hut where herbs simmered in clay pots. "The spirits have already shown you the path. But beware, young man, the cursed amulet is only a reflection of the choices in your heart. Remove it not, and your family suffers beyond the river of time." He lifted the amulet, staring at the carvings of tiny figures in twisted poses. Lena's trickery had been cunning, the charm had fed upon his desires, twisting them into shadow. The seer's words settled like stones in his chest. "I must undo this," he thought. Meanwhile, the boy's health began to falter. Fever rose like the summer sun in the forest, unyielding and swift. Amara's heart tightened each time he coughed or whimpered, her hands trembling as she prepared cooling herbs. Okechukwu should be here, she whispered. Even the spirits will not forgive absence in times of need. Her son's small hand reached for hers. Mother, is father coming back? Amara swallowed hard, braid slipping from her shoulder. The path is long, child. But perhaps he walks it even now. The next day, a raven landed atop the village totem, cawing thrice. The villagers murmured in fear, for in their lore, the raven carried messages from the spirits of the forest, warnings, omens, and truths no one could ignore. Amara's eyes followed the bird. The spirits speak, she said. Okechukwu must heed their message, or we will all know suffering. Okechukwu, in the distant forest village, wrestled with the amulet's pull. Shadows seemed to stretch toward him from the trees, whispering Lena's name, promising solace if he gave in to temptation once more. He shook his head violently, muttering, "No, I will not falter again." Had I known the cost, I would have stayed loyal to Amara and the child. I will not repeat my sins. Suddenly, a rustling in the undergrowth made him freeze. A figure stepped forward, a woman dressed in flowing red, carrying a small pouch of herbs. "Lena, you wander far, young man," she said, smiling faintly. "The shadows have grown heavier without me to guide you. Did you think the spirits could save you from yourself?" Okachukwu's chest heaved. "You bring only harm. I will not follow your path again. I will mend what I broke." Lena tilted her head, eyes glinting. "Mend? Foolish boy. You do not know the power of your choices. Only the river and the spirits will judge." With that, she disappeared into the mist, leaving Okechukwu trembling, heart pounding. The amulet's glow faded, but the weight in his chest remained. By the next dawn, he began the long journey back to the village. Each step along the winding forest path was a trial, roots twisted beneath his feet, rivers swelled from overnight rains, shadows seemed to reach out to him. He whispered to himself, "Had I known the cost of wandering, had I known the pain my absence would bring, I would have stayed at Amara's side, loyal and steadfast." Every animal he passed seemed to watch him, a monkey chattering in warning, a snake coiled in silence, a deer frozen mid-step. All reminders that nature itself bore witness to his folly. As he neared the village, the boy's fever had worsened. Amara sat by the river, fanning him with palm leaves, herbs strewn about. Her voice carried a soft warning. "The forest does not forgive absence, child," she said. "And neither does the heart that loves too well." The villagers gathered, murmuring, the cursed amulet had brought suffering to the boy, and only a true act of loyalty and courage could cleanse the shadow. Okechukwu appeared at the forest edge, mud-streaked and bloodied from thorn scratches, eyes red with exhaustion. He raised the amulet to the moonlight, muttering an incantation the seer had taught him. "Spirit of the forest, hear my plea. Let the shadows I carried be cleansed, for my heart belongs to the loyal and the true." The amulet glowed, then fell dark, lifeless. A sudden wind swept the clearing, carrying the scent of the river and the forest approval. Amara's eyes widened. He has returned. And the shadows, they are gone. The boy stirred weakly, smiling faintly. "Father." Okechukwu fell to his knees beside him, hands shaking. "I am here, child. I am here, and I will not leave again." A hush fell over the villagers. Elder Oba stepped forward, voice echoing like the wind through the Iroko trees. "Let this be a lesson to all. He who strays from loyalty will find his heart heavy with regret, but he who returns with courage may yet be redeemed." The Firebird circled overhead again, its shrill cry now a song of warning turned to hope. Mini cliffhanger, Lena watched from the mist beyond the trees, smile faint but plotting. The shadows may have lifted for now, but the spirits were not finished with Okechukwu yet. The dawn broke slowly over the village, golden light spilling across clay huts and the winding dirt paths. Okechukwu knelt beside the river, washing his hands in the cool water. Each ripple seemed to whisper the spirit's approval, or perhaps their judgment. The amulet, now lifeless, lay at the edge of the water. He pressed it to the earth and murmured, "Had I known the depth of my folly, I would have never wandered from the path of loyalty. Spirits, accept my heart, heavy though it may be." A sudden rustle in the reeds made him start. A small bird with midnight black feathers watched him from the riverbank. He knew from the elders' tales, this was a messenger, one that heralded the next trial. Amara watched him from a distance, hidden behind a tall palm. She had returned to tend the boy, who was slowly recovering, but her eyes were fixed on Okechukwu. He was different now, humbled, wary, yet determined. She whispered to herself a proverb her grandmother had taught her. "The heart that repents walks carefully through the shadows, but the cautious eye sees the truth behind every leaf." The boy stirred, reaching for his father. Okechukwu approached slowly, kneeling beside the child. "I am here, little one," he said softly. His voice carried both apology and promise. The boy clutched his hand, eyes brightening with trust. Amara stepped closer, voice steady but cautious. "Okechukwu, the spirits have spoken. But remember, one who falters once may falter again if temptation whispers in the wind." He looked at her, pain and longing in his eyes. "I swear, Amara, never again. I will face the forest, the river, even the trickster herself if need be. Had I known the cost, I would have stayed true from the start." She nodded, though her eyes remained guarded. "Trust is earned, not given freely," she thought, echoing the old proverbs. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the iroko trees, a shadow moved along the forest path. Lena appeared again, a faint red glow surrounding her, as if the last remnants of the cursed amulet's magic clung to her. "You think you have learned, young man?" she whispered, her voice carrying like the wind through dry leaves. "The river does not forgive lightly, and neither do I. Are you ready for what comes next?" Okechukwu tightened his fist. "I will not be swayed. Leave this village, Lena, before the spirits decide your path." She laughed softly, fading into the mist. Her eyes glimmered in the moonlight, a reminder that temptation and chaos still lingered beyond the trees. The next morning, Okechukwu walked with his son to the market clearing, carrying a basket of medicinal herbs Amara had prepared. Each step was careful, deliberate, the soil beneath his feet grounding him in humility. The ground twisted beneath his feet, roots threatening to trip him, and he glimpsed shadowy figures among the trees. Lena's voice echoed faintly, tempting him with whispered promises. He stopped, pressed his palm against the earth, and spoke aloud, "I have learned the price of betrayal. I walk this path for my family, for my child, for Amara. No trickster, no shadow, no charm shall sway me again. Had I known the pain I caused, I would have never strayed." The shadows recoiled, retreating into the trees. A gentle breeze lifted the sweat from his brow, carrying with it the scent of the river and the forest approval. He had passed the test, and yet he knew this was only the beginning. Meanwhile, back at the village, Amara prepared a healing bath for the boy. The water was infused with river herbs and petals, smoke curling from the sacred fire. She whispered incantations taught by her grandmother. "Spirits of the river, spirits of the earth, cleanse the heart of what has been broken. Let the young ones flourish, and the loyal be restored." Her hands moved deftly, but her eyes never left the doorway. She felt a presence, the familiar, heavy footsteps of Okechukwu returning from the forest. The boy stirred and smiled faintly. "Father," he called softly. Okechukwu entered, eyes earnest. "I am here, child. I have faced the shadows, and I am yours once more." Amara's lips pressed together, a mix of relief and caution. "You have walked a dangerous path," she said. "But the heart that repents may yet find its way back into trust." That evening, the villagers gathered near the river for the Firebird's flight, a ritual marking trials and victories. The boy ran ahead, laughing, while Okechukwu walked slowly behind, Amara by his side. Elder Oba intoned. The spirits watch all. They test, they guide, and they reveal the truth in every heart. Let those who have faltered remember, redemption is earned by deeds, not words alone. The Firebird circled overhead, cries piercing the night sky. The villagers looked up, murmuring prayers and blessings. Okechukwu held his son close, feeling the weight of every choice he had made. Mini cliffhanger, Lena's shadow passed along the edge of the forest, unseen by the villagers, a faint red glimmer warning that her influence had not been fully erased. The next days were spent in careful rebuilding. Okechukwu helped gather firewood, repaired fences, and learned the art of the herbs under Amara's watchful guidance. Each task was a small redemption, each act a step toward regaining trust. At night, he would kneel beside the river, whispering to the spirits, "Had I known the depth of my errors, I would have walked with loyalty from the first moment. Guide me, so I may not falter again." Amara observed quietly, never interrupting, her faith cautious. She knew that true forgiveness required time and proof. The boy thrived slowly, laughter returning to his eyes, bringing warmth back into the heart. And though Lena's shadow lingered in the distant forest, the village had begun to breathe again, and Okechukwu had begun to mend the tattered threads of his life. The full moon rose over the forest village, silver light spilling across the river and the thatched huts. Okechukwu stood at the water's edge, his son's hand clutched in his. Amara approached quietly, carrying a small bundle of herbs. "The river reflects the truth," she said softly. "Look closely, and you may see your own heart." Okechukwu nodded, kneeling beside the boy. "I see it now," he whispered. "The heart I allowed to wander. The shadows I brought. And the family I almost lost. Had I known the cost, I would never have strayed." The boy tugged at his father's sleeve. "Father, will the Firebird sing again?" Okechukwu smiled gently, brushing his hair back. "Yes, my child. It sings for those who walk through, and for those who learn from the darkness." Amara stood behind them, eyes softening, lips pressed. "It is not enough to return," she said. "Trust is rebuilt through deeds, through patience, through courage. You have begun, Okechukwu. But the path is long." The wind stirred the trees as if carrying her words into the hearts of all who listened. Shadows of Lena, the trickster, lingered faintly in the distance. The villagers sensed her presence, but no harm came yet. The following morning, Okechukwu awoke early and began a new task, preparing the fields for planting. The soil was soft, the river nearby ready to nurture the seeds. Each step he took was deliberate, each action a prayer of redemption. Amara joined him, carrying water for the young plants. "The spirits watch how you labor," she said. "And the child learns through your example." The boy ran ahead, laughing as he chased a butterfly, his small feet kicking up dust. Okechukwu paused, watching him, feeling the weight of all he had nearly lost. "The future is in these hands," he thought. "I will not falter again." That evening, the villagers gathered at the riverbank for the ritual of the Firebird. The elder, Oba, raised his hands to the moonlit sky. "The Firebird flies over those who have faced the shadows of their hearts," he intoned. "It sings for courage, for loyalty, and for the wisdom that comes from knowing the cost of desire." Okechukwu knelt beside Amara and their son, holding their hands together. The Firebird circled high, its wings catching the moonlight, casting silver streaks across the river. The boy clutched his father's hand. "Father, it is beautiful." Okachukwu's eyes shimmered. "Yes, child. And it is a reminder, the heart that strays may be heavy with regret. But the heart that repents and walks through can find its way home." Amara smiled faintly, the first time in many nights that her lips curved fully. "Perhaps. The spirits have seen your deeds. Perhaps. The elder's voice rose again. Let all remember, young and old, he who falters in loyalty invites the shadows, but he who returns with courage restores the light. The night was quiet, save for the firebird's final cry and the soft whispers of the forest. Lena's shadow watched from the distant trees, a faint red glimmer, plotting yet powerless tonight. The villagers returned to their homes, the river murmuring softly beside them, and the moonlight bathing the huts in gentle silver. Okechukwu carried his son back to the hut, Amara following closely behind. The child's laughter echoed softly in the night, blending with the river's song. Inside the hut, Okechukwu knelt beside the hearth, placing his son safely on the mat. Sleep, little one. The shadows cannot reach you now. Father will guard you. Amara approached, hands folded, eyes soft. The shadows may return, but tonight we are whole. Walk carefully, Okechukwu, for the forest remembers every step. Okechukwu nodded solemnly, feeling the weight of the lesson deep in his chest. I have learned, Amara. I have learned. The following morning, the sun rose, casting gold across the forest and village. Okechukwu and Amara stood together at the riverbank, watching their son play near the water. The firebird flies high, yet even it returns to rest, Amara said, softly. Remember this, Okechukwu, even those who soar may falter, but the heart that loves with wisdom is never lost. Okechukwu nodded, smiling faintly. Had I truly known, I would have walked through from the first day. But now I know, and I will never stray again. Their son ran toward them, laughter ringing in the morning air. Okechukwu scooped him up, spinning him around. Amara's eyes softened fully, the caution giving way to relief. That night, as the village settled, Okechukwu knelt once more by the river. He whispered to the spirits. Spirit of the river, spirit of the forest, guide me in all I do. May my heart remain true, my deeds honest, and my family safe. That night, as the village settled, Okechukwu knelt once more by the river. He whispered to the spirits. Spirit of the river, spirit of the forest, guide me in all I do. May my heart remain true, my deeds honest, and my family safe. A gentle breeze rustled the trees, carrying the scent of river herbs and the faint cry of the firebird. All was calm. The cursed amulet lay buried beneath the earth, powerless. Lena's shadow faded in the distant mist. Elder Oba's words echoed through the forest, as if spoken by the wind itself. He who strays from loyalty finds shadows in his heart, yet he who repents with courage may restore the light. Let all who hear this story remember, the spirits watch, and the heart never lies. Okechukwu, Amara, and their son stood together under the full moon, the river gleaming silver beside them. The forest whispered in approval. The lesson was clear: loyalty, courage, and repentance carry the weight of redemption. And to you, dear listener, the spirits would say, remember this tale, for the choices you make today shape the shadows and the light of tomorrow. If you enjoyed this tale, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, so the next story from the forest, full of magic, suspense, and wisdom, will find its way to you. Share your thoughts. What would you do if faced with temptation, and could your heart walk through like Okechukwu's?